Hello and welcome to the Munro Method Clancast. I am Jason Munro. This is episode 177. Hello. I have just written 3 emails. And when I write emails, the creative juices are flowing. I've got notes written down on a piece of paper because it was stuff that's going to go on to become like whatever other content. In this instance, it's going to become a podcast episode. I just did an email and I said, if I tell you this, can we still be friends? And it was just a very open, plain, direct, honest, to the point, blunt email. Essentially, a very me email. Now, I'm going to tell you some of the stuff that I just put in that because I actually had a bit of an epiphany. So I started it by saying, do you know what is so incredibly frustrating is... You know, I post stuff on Instagram every day. And there are times where you just feel like you're shouting into the void. Like, you're putting this stuff out there, you're saying words, you're making videos, you know, and then you're at the mercy of the algorithm to come and take that video and put it in front of someone who needs it. Now, the thing is, when you are saying things that don't feed into the matrix, we'll call it. What I mean by that is when you are saying things that don't fit in with what people think the world is like it really doesn't get pushed. I have been in this industry long enough to be able to say that, like, I something I struggle with a lot on a daily basis is transparency. Like, I look beyond everything and try to see stuff for what it really is, which isn't always great. I mean, I'll give you an example. I can walk around a supermarket, see an offer and just think, you're just robbing people. That's not an offer. You're just trying to make people spend more money. Yes, if I buy 2, I'll get 50p off, but you're also getting £3 more. You know, I'm buying something that I wouldn't otherwise have bought. I don't benefit, you're benefiting. The only people that benefits is people who were coming in to buy 2 of the things anyway. That's how cynical I can be, and it's not pleasant. Like, I don't like it. You know, I sit online and see people talking about stuff and then trying to sell stuff. Oh, you see these videos on TikTok shop where people walk in and go, oh, I'm in Boots or I'm in Superdrug. Look at this, L'Oreal, fucking men expert, whatever. They're trying to rob you blind. You can get 2 of them here for this much. It's like, oh my God. I just hate it. Like, it's stuff that bothers me anyway. Because of the way that I think, I can see the weight loss industry in ways that most people can't. And one of the biggest frustrations I have is trying to communicate that and, you know, like, get people to see it through that lens. Like, I need people to see the weight loss industry through my lens. And I don't know if you've ever seen that film Inception, where they go deeper and deeper, then there's always like a new level. Like, just when I think I've got everything figured out, like, I see like another layer. A new layer to the diet industry. And I think that's what's happened to me this morning when I was writing that email. I've seen another layer of the diet industry. So we're going to take this even deeper. What did I write down on a bit of paper? Dieting doesn't work because food isn't the problem. Do you know what, like, nobody talks about this in the diet industry, right? Everybody just talks about food. Go online, that health tonic cunt. Oh, sorry, that was a bad word. This health tonic guy, if you've ever seen him on social media, that guy is an utter fucking plague on society, walking around supermarkets, one of those guys picking up foods, but he also sells a product, right? Look at this, guys, this is full of this, and look at this, I can't even pronounce some of these. Look at all these emulsifiers, and he's trying to sell, you know, artificial sweeteners, emulsifiers. Now, the thing is, you might listen to this and go, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with someone walking around pointing that stuff out? See, that stuff, that is That is the surface level stuff that keeps the world distracted from what the problems actually are. You are not overweight because of an artificial sweetener. You are not overweight because of an emulsifier. You are not overweight because your bread has 6 ingredients instead of 3. It's so unbelievably unimportant. Like, do you know, there are people who might want to think about that stuff, but that's like at the very end, right? You are not going to lose 6 stone because you watched a video about bread should only have 3 ingredients. You're not going to lose 6 stone because you've learned that whatever has 6 ingredients in it that have got long names that somebody can't pronounce. That's end of the journey stuff. That is you. If you were a performance athlete who was, let's say you were in the Olympics, you were a runner, and you were trying to micromanage every last bloody thing that went into your body. Absolutely nothing processed, nothing that could potentially harm your performance, your strength, how fast you are, whatever. You do not want to put a single thing in your body that could potentially impact that. Then you might want to care about. I'm not a performance nutritionist, so I don't even know if this stuff has an impact. One of my best mates, is a nutritionist for UFC fighters, pro boxers. I've seen he sends me their plans and programs, their like training camps and stuff. The guys are sitting eating Cocoa Pops for their breakfast before they go training. Like, even ridiculous athletes like that are not just sitting eating chicken, rice and broccoli. But anyway, the point was, if you are at the very end of your weight loss journey, sure, you might want to focus on that stuff, but I need you to hear this loud and clear. When it comes to your weight, food is not the problem. Food is not the problem. The food does not come first. Food is what you are using to try and fix problems. Right? And like I said, this is this new layer that I've just revealed to myself as well, and these podcasts are always great to help me articulate this stuff. But just sit with that for a minute, right? Food isn't the problem. You are not overweight because of food. You are overweight because of the way that you have used food. It's like saying, you're not in debt. You are not in debt because of money. You're in debt because of the way that you've spent money, the way that you've managed money. The things that you put on credit cards and loans. Sorry if anybody is in debt and that's bringing up unpleasant thoughts, but it's just to get the example across. You are not overweight because of food. You are overweight because of the way that you think, act and feel about food, because of the numerous jobs that you give food to do. What I mean by that is, food is there for one, it's a bit nuanced this, right? Food is there for one reason and one reason only. I'll say it. Food is there to fuel your body. That is the one and only thing food is supposed to be for. However, that doesn't mean to say that we can't have fun with it. That doesn't mean to say that we can't eat things, even if it isn't fuel or we're thinking like that. We have to be sensible on that side of things. But food can be fun, food can be pleasure, food can be enjoyment, but ultimately food is the fuel that your body runs on. For every other job that you give it to do that isn't that, you are going to weigh more. So if you use food as a boredom filler, you're going to be overweight, because every time you're bored, you're going to eat something, right? This has got nothing to do with hunger, nothing to do with satiety, nothing to do with filling yourself up. You have reached a point in the day where you have nothing to do, or you're sitting watching the TV and you're really not enjoying what you're watching, but there's nothing else on, or your entire day has been spent with a toddler, having toddler conversations, and you're craving adult company and you're bored out your mind, and then you go get something to eat. That is the problem. Food is just the thing that you're using. Food is not creating the problem. The way that you have chosen to manage your boredom is the problem. And then we apply that to everything else, to your emotions, to your stress, to your anxiety, to your procrastination, to your time management, to the way that you reward yourself, to the way that you treat yourself, to the way that you think you've earned things or the things that you deserve, the things that you do to unwind after a hard day. I need this, I deserve this. All of that. The more things that you attach food to, the more jobs that you give food to do, the higher your weight is going to be. That's it. That's what being overweight is in a nutshell. You have given jobs. You have given food too many jobs to do. And as a result of that, you are living in a body that is bigger than you want it to be. Because you're not just eating your breakfast when you're hungry and stopping when you're full, and your lunch and your dinner, and having a few snacks in between. You're also eating every time you're bored, every time you're upset, every time you're happy, every time you're down, when your mood's low, when you've got a task that you're meant to be getting on with, but you're procrastinating like mad, and you scroll your phone, then you make a cup of tea, then you have something to eat, and you keep doing all these jobs, anything to delay doing the thing. That's why you're overweight, right? And again, what does dieting do? Dieting, no diet plan is advertising, yeah, let's fix your boredom in 90 days. Let's fix your emotional eating in 8 weeks. Nobody's talking about that. Everybody just cares about numbers in weeks. How much weight am I going to lose in the shortest amount of time? What sort of things do I get to eat on your plan? How many calories are you going to give me? Like, that stuff is so fucking unimportant. So unimportant. Who cares how much weight you're going to lose? You've been dieting for 30 years. What you should be caring about is how much weight you've not lost from 30 years of dieting, because you're now 10 pounds heavier today than you were 30 years ago when you first started dieting. Why are you not focusing on that? Why is it you have to lose 10 pounds in the next 5 weeks? Why is that such a drama? Why is it so urgent? And I know why it is, because that's the world that we live in. The world is orientated around this bullshit lie of, yeah, just do this to lose weight, or replace these 3 foods with these 3 foods. And it's just a circus. It's all nonsense. It's all a scam. Yeah. This is the shit that goes around in my head 24/7. We are living in a world where we are being absolutely fleeced by the government because they just focus on all the wrong things when it comes to eating. We're being fleeced by diet plans, by diet programs, by scammy scumbags on the internet walking around supermarkets telling you that everything you eat is wrong and it's full of sweetener. Like that Tonic Health guy, he goes around telling everybody what they shouldn't be eating and what they should be eating, or, here's all the things that are bad for you. And I saw a couple of comments on his videos. One people said, well, where should we buy stuff? Like, you're in every supermarket telling us that every supermarket sells the worst of stuff. Where should we shop? A Whole Food shop. Have you ever been in a Whole Food shop? I was in London in January, and I went into this place, and it was a cafe stroke Whole Foods shop. And oh my God, like £4 for an apple. Just one apple, £4. Now I know it's also London prices, but it's like, the fact that it's a Whole Food shop, prices are already amplified. And the fact that it was in London, prices were amplified. £4. I grudge paying £3 for 6 pink ladies, but it's the only ones that my kids will eat. That pisses me off because they're like the most expensive apple you can get in the supermarket. £4 for a single apple. Yeah, just send everybody to the Whole Food shops. Go and spend $2,000 a month on your shopping. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'm happy to have gotten that out there now. But what I want you to take away from this is food is not the problem. Food is not the reason that you're overweight. The way that you think about it, the way that you feel about it, those things determine the way that you use it. It's the same with anything. It's the way that you use it that's the problem. If you drink one glass of wine 5 nights a week, that will have next to no negative impact on your health. If you drink 2 bottles of wine on a Saturday night, that's not going to be good. I said this in a video not too long ago. If I take 2 paracetamol, my headache will go away. If I take 22 paracetamol, I'll land myself in hospital. The problem is never with the thing. The problem is with the scale at which we use it. Do you know, actually, here's another thing that I was thinking about in the car. I'm just going to use this to bounce the idea off you. I was driving back earlier on to the house and I was thinking, like, I always talk about your weight being your responsibility, right? We need to take responsibility for our weight, not because we're trying to blame ourselves or any of that nonsense, but if you don't believe that you're the one that took your weight to where it is, then how are you going to change it? Like, if you believe it wasn't your fault, not fault, we're not playing the blame game, it's not about your fault. What I mean is, if you don't think that it was in your hands, right? Well, I didn't do this to myself. You know, I'm just big boned. I'm just naturally heavier. This is what we're a family like this. My parents are like this. If you create the idea that you're a slave to your weight, then how are you going to change it if you don't think it's you? This is what I mean when I talk about taking responsibility. Understanding that, wherever your weight is right now, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 20, 22 stone, whatever, wherever it is right now, that's not an accident. That did not happen to you. You did it to yourself. You did not intentionally wake up every day and say, right, how can I get to that next stone bracket? But you did wake up and make choices on a daily basis that led you to your current weight. So the point there was, something I think about a lot is like, how can you get people to think of their weight in a different way and to stop thinking that the whole world is trying to make them overweight? So here's like the 3 things that I ran through in my head, right? Your weight might not, what was it? Your weight is your responsibility, but it's not your fault, or you're not to blame, right? And then I had this thing where I was going to say, like, it's not your fault that restaurants serve big portion sizes, but it is your responsibility to stop eating when you start to feel full. It's not your fault that takeaways create such high-calorie foods, but it is your responsibility to order sensibly from the menu. It's not your fault that, I'm winging it now, it's not your fault that processed foods are so cheap. Nah, I don't know where to go with that one. But you get the idea, right? I'll work on that. That'll become a rule soon. Like, something that I said to someone recently about restaurants was, if 100 people go to a restaurant and 100 people order the fish and chips, those 100 people are all going to get the exact same plate of food, the same portion size. It's not actually something I order when I'm out, but I've seen fish and chips often enough in some restaurants to know that usually the fish is hanging off the plate, big piles of chips, big pile of peas or whatever. They're not small portions, right? Now, let's say that's a 1,300 calorie meal. And now those 100 people in that restaurant are all sitting there in different positions. What I mean by that is some of them have not eaten all day because they knew they were going to have dinner at night. Some of them have already had breakfast and lunch. Some of them are 6'5" guys working on a building site, burning 3,500 calories a day. Some of them are 50-year-old women at 5 foot who have sat working from home at their dining table all day and they've burned 1,800 calories. The restaurant will put the same size plate of food down to everyone because that's how much they charge for that amount of food. That's it. After that, the responsibility is then placed in your hands to eat that food sensibly. To not sit and eat all the chips first and then you're full and you've missed out on the vegetables or the protein, or to not clear the entire plate because that's what you do, because that's how you were brought up, or that's the attitude that you have when you're paying for something, or whatever the mentality is. If you are, the 6'5" guy burning 3,500 calories, a 1,300 calorie dinner is a drop in the ocean to you. But if you are like most women I work with and you're burning between 1,800 to 2,200 calories a day and you're having a 1,300 calorie dinner and you've already eaten that day, you've already had breakfast, you've already had lunch, you've already had snacks, you're going to go home and eat something in front of the TV later. If you eat all of that meal, that's when it becomes a problem. So the point was, food is not the problem. Still, actually, that ties in nicely with that. Restaurants are not the problem. Takeaways are not the problem. It's down to us to learn how to fuel our bodies properly, to learn how to have better eating habits, to stop using every gap in the day as an excuse to go and get something to eat, whether that's boredom or stress or procrastination or whatever it is. That's the problem we have. Yep, processed foods aren't ideal. I get it. And I'm all for the movement around that. But listen, processed foods can exist in the same way that alcohol can exist. Here's the thing, right? Alcohol's allowed to exist. And yet, the responsibility is meant to be placed on people not to drink too much, not to become alcoholics. Yeah, you're supposed to be sensible around it. If somebody said, let's ban all alcohol, people would lose their shit. Well, it's not out, why should we suffer because some people can't control themselves, or some people can't stop at one drink, or some people can't handle their drink? But processed foods, oh yeah, everybody, let's ban processed foods. These should be illegal. Why? Why should they be illegal? Shouldn't the responsibility be placed on people? We're not solving the problem. If we ban processed foods, then people are just going to eat other stuff. If I banned, if I could wave a magic wand and ban all processed foods right now, do you think people would suddenly start losing weight? It doesn't change the fact that you're still a boredom eater. It doesn't change the fact that you're an emotional eater. All you would do was shift your emotional eating to different foods. It's like weight loss injections. Weight loss injections, oh, these are amazing. Look how quickly people are losing weight. But yeah, they're also stripping muscle from their body, stripping bone density. Oh, I'm not going to get into that. That's another thing that's actually terrifying me right now, the more I think about it. Weight loss medications, it's wild to me that these are being unleashed on the world in the way that they are. These should be tightly controlled. There should be an application process. They should only be getting recommended to people who 1,000,000% genuinely need them, in my opinion. It should not be something that, people should just be able to go on to MediExpress. And I know this because there's a podcast I'm listening to at the moment, and it keeps saying, start your week off right. Come to MediExpress for a free assessment. No restrictive diets, no this, just blah, blah, blah. You can just go online and order it. That's wild to me. And again, it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't solve the underlying problem. Just like keeping chocolate out the house doesn't change the fact that you want to use chocolate to cope with your emotions. Removing chocolate from the house doesn't stop you from being an emotional eater. Taking crisps out the house doesn't stop you from being a boredom eater. It just removes one of the things you would normally eat. Anyway, the takeaway here is food is not the problem. The way that we use it is, and the way that we use it is determined by the way that we think, act, and feel about it. This is why diets do not work and will never work, because they don't change you. It's you that needs to change, not your weight, not the food. The food probably does need to change, but we shouldn't be starting there. That should be coming, we should be changing as a person to the point where we want to change the food. Anyway, enough from me. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble, but sometimes those are the best ones. Until next time.